how are you doing today, Carly?
I'm good. I mean, it's Monday, but holiday is just right around the corner, so that's good.
Oh, it is Monday.
Yeah,
I just realized that.
Yeah.
It's because man, all right, I'm gonna go way off topic. Today
Yeah.
I had a dream. I woke up, I started sweating. I was like, man, it was like a bad dream. But my dream, for some reason, I don't know why, but I went to jail.
Oh,
But I went to jail with my wife.
that's why you were sweating. Yes. Yeah.
And then I woke up and I was thinking, is it the weekend or not?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it's like so early.
Yeah.
And then I went to sleep. 10 minutes later, my alarm goes off at 4:45 because me and Myra, we have to hit the gym.
Yeah.
So I just forgot it was Monday.
Yeah.
Man, it's only Monday.
But also you had a dream that you and your wife were in jail. So that's something to talk about.
Yeah. And then I told her, I was like, man, I had a dream I was in jail. She's like, what'd you do? I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know what you do. You were there too. Yeah, blame her.
So we were just talking about this. And then this is the second time this happened because Jessie told me that she was like, hey, you should get Carly on.
Yeah.
And then, she runs marathons and this and that. But no one ever tells me, like, the people I interviewed, they're like, oh, yeah, they're like deans or they're presidents or this and that. I'm like, oh, snap. Because it happened with Amy Schweinley.
Yeah, because she's a dean, Yeah,
because I met her through the farmer's market when we would sell stuff. And then I found out, she's the dean.
Yeah.
So
the ed school. Yeah. Yeah. I know we hide that stuff very well. It's like, also, by the way, we do this for our living so we can pay for these things that we go and do. Right.
Yeah. Because from my view, I see you guys at these top people.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, they probably see me so small.
Oh, no. I'm just an assistant dean. Don't worry. It's just a title. Who cares?
So how did that happen? Like, how'd you get to that position?
Yeah. So I worked at USD pretty much forever. So I went to school here. And then I also, I worked in admissions. That was my first job out of college. So I was an admissions counselor. And then I worked in enrollment. And then I worked for the chamber. So I actually worked for the chamber for a couple years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's when they were first they were in the A-Freight building on the north side of town. And then they were in the social services building and then not where they're at now. I was not in any of the pretty locations. So I worked there for a couple years. And then I started working back at USD. I got asked to come to a job there and then worked in student services and then started doing advising. And then when I got hired in the business school to be an advisor, the current assistant dean was retiring. Like they knew she was going to be retiring in the next few years. So basically I've been there for about 11 years and have worked myself from advisor to manager to director. And then now I'm assistant dean. So I oversee like our student services and our accreditation, which is bizarrely awkward combination, but it keeps me busy.
Was that the goal? Like when you were a kid, you're like, I want to be assistant
dean.
Dean.
That's the thing I always joke about when I'm meeting with students. I'm like, nobody ever goes to school and says, you know what I'm going to be when I grow up? I'm going to do this. Like, I think advising and working in student services is such a, it's not like a clear path, right? Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people are like, what? That's the job I'm going to do. People think lawyers and doctors and accountants and that kind of stuff. But I think people always forget that there's so many great jobs out there that like don't have a direct, like you don't see the path from the start, but you can get there. So yeah.
Is there a goal? Like, do you want to be the president of USD?
No, God, no. I want Sheila to do that job. I don't want to be the dean either. I love what I do. I like being able to actually work with his students. I think that's an important part of my job is like, I still advise like 250 students and on top of supervising and doing my other job. So no, until I'm too old and unrelatable for students, I like the job I have now. No, that dean role, that's a whole next level. God bless those people. And I also don't have my PhD, so that would make it harder, but yeah.
You have to have a PhD to be a dean?
Most of the deans, especially if you look at business school deans, because, right, a lot of business schools like to be quite pretentious and they like to have a certain type of person be their dean, right? So I think there are some schools that are a little bit more flexible with that, but definitely working with faculty within the business school. I think a lot of times they have a certain idea of what they want their background to be, especially they want to be them to be a professor too, right? To have that teaching background. So I don't think always, like we had a dean, probably 10 years back. I think he had his MBA, not his PhD, but no, I'm good. I'll let those guys do that job. Okay.
Do the professors... I always wondered this. And I'm not talking about USD, but anywhere else. Yeah. Any maybe university. Do like business professors do they have experience like in business?
Oh, that's a good question, right? Yeah. This is a question we talk about all the time at work. I think there are some that have industry experience, and then there are some that have only been in academia. They've only been in school, getting their master's, getting their PhD, and then going on to teaching. So there's definitely a mix of both. I would say most of the tenured track faculty, like PhD faculty, most of them generally don't have industry experience. You'll see a lot of instructors or adjunct instructors that do have the industry experience because they maybe work in the real world. I shouldn't say that. Faculty work in the real world too, but they work in the job industry world, and they're bringing their at that moment experience into the classroom for our students to understand kind of what's going on at that point. So, yeah.
Do you think that's important? Because I always wondered that too.
I do think it's important. I think it's important to have academics for sure, 100%. But I also think it's really important to get these people in that really understand some of the very in the moment things that are going on in the field. Like right now, AI is really big, right? So it's great to have faculty that are coming in that are using that stuff in their real job doing it. I think that's the cool thing about adjuncts is that sometimes we'll have some off the cuff classes that aren't normally being taught, but they're hot topics in industry that we can bring somebody in that's like a special that specializes in that field to teach our students that are what's going on right then. So I think there's probably, I would guess if you asked a faculty member, everybody has their own opinion on if they should be, have a PhD and have just education experience, if they should have industry experience. I think it kind of depends, right?
Yeah.
And you'll probably make somebody mad depending on what your answer is in that question. But I think it works both ways in every way.
No one's ever satisfied with the answer. I remember with us, with me and my wife, so I guess a little side thing besides me doing this is we sell food. Yeah. So we sell like Mexican food, tacos or this and that on the street. But before that, like I didn't know all this, like I guess the business side stuff. Yeah. But then like you learn all the taxes, the insurance, and this marketing, this strategy, all this stuff, all throughout these years. I'm like, oh snap, this is you can learn a lot of stuff online now.
Oh, absolutely. YouTube it and you'll find it. 100%. Yes.
Yeah. Even with this stuff, like the plans that I got, like everything's just on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh. I think there's a huge demand for people with certain degrees for certain fields, but also like for people like you and your wife, you don't need to go get a degree to be able to do what you're doing, right? Like a lot of that's on the fly real world experience. I would guess if you ask the majority of the business owners in Vermillion, they didn't probably go to school for a business degree, right? They had their specialization and they've made it work and they have resources of people that help them get to where they need to be, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So how do people, if they want to become like those big giant companies, like if they want to be CEOs and this and that, is that when they get like, they have to get the MBA or stuff like that?
I would guess the majority of CEOs of companies have MBAs. Not necessarily PhDs, because PhDs more is on like that teaching end on that, but definitely MBAs, I would guess, right?
So what is an MBA?
A Master's of Business Administration. So it's a graduate degree in business. You can do all kinds of things. Like a lot of accountants have a MAC or an MPA. So a MAC is a Master's of Accounting, right? Because a lot of accountants have their CPA. And for most states to sit for your CPA exam, you have to have 150 credit hours of college credit, both undergrad and grad. It doesn't matter if it's undergrad or grad, to sit for the CPA exam. So like in South Dakota, you have to have 150 credit hours of college credit to sit for the exam. So an undergraduate degree is 120 and our MAC is actually 30. So it's perfect amount that you'll have 150 when you get done. And then you can sit for the CPA exam. A lot of like the big firms, they want you to have your CPA, right? Like that's one of the credentials they want. So a lot of those people have their MAC so that they can sit for their CPA and then be practicing CPAs in a firm.
Man, you know a lot. You sure you don't want to be the dean?
Good, right? That's like too much. I've already put somebody to sleep at this point, but that's kind of how that end of where things works. But I would guess most CEOs, unless it was like handed down to them by their parents or like, a family business, I would guess most of them have a graduate degree in some way, shape or form.
Do you have any goals? Like, is this where you want to stay? Or is there something like, I want to do this or go somewhere here or this and that?
I'm pretty content. I think in my previous title of director was probably like the furthest I thought I would ever go. I mean, I was like, oh, this is good. I've been working for the state for this long. I'm gonna get retirement. I could retire at the Rule of 85 in 2037. And then this opportunity came. And I think the bigger thing for me, more than like titles and stuff like that, is always feeling challenged and or that I'm like making a difference in some way, shape, or form. So that's been the nice thing about how sometimes my role has evolved a little bit in my job, is I kind of get new duties per se that keep me learning and doing something new. I mean, I don't want to sit and do the same thing for 10 years without a challenge in some way, shape or form. So I think as long as like the role evolves and I feel like I'm not like putting myself to sleep with my boredom, of like, same thing every day. I think I'm super content with that. I mean, if my boss is listening to them, and he wants to give me a promotion, I'm not going to say like no to it or anything like that, but I'm pretty content. And I love the people I work with, and we have a great staff, and, the students are always cool. I mean, I think that's the thing that's interesting about being in higher ed is the students are always changing, right? Like they come and they go and they come and they go. And it's really cool to see them evolve if it's freshmen, to see the cool things that they do as seniors, to going out in the working world and seeing the things they're doing. So that's kind of the change that's always happening, is because the students are always changing, and the kind of students that we see are always changing. Yeah.
Give it like 3 years and you're going to be like USD president. I see it.
There you go. From your mouth to God's ears. Let's make it happen.
I see it. Yeah. So I want to get you on, since also Jesse was telling me that you run, but it's not just marathons, right? It's ultramarathons?
Yeah, I've run 2 ultramarathons. So ultramarathons are kind of a newer-ish thing for me. So I started running when I was like 26. I think I had a friend that was like, let's go run this half marathon. And I was like, okay. Like I'd never really run. I mean, I didn't run in high school. I did no sports when I was younger, not an athletic person at all. And then in my mid-20s, I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then I just kind of never stopped. So I ran 1 half marathon, and now I've run like 40 something half marathons, and I'm running Tokyo in March. That will be my 6th major. So I'll get my 6 star. And that'll be like my 13th, I think, full, and I've run 2 ultras. So the ultras, actually I've run 3 ultras. I forgot. Snap. So I've done 2 50Ks. So an ultra, for people that don't know what an ultra is anything over marathon distance. So a marathon's 26.2. So an ultra is technically anything over that. So I've done 2 50Ks, which are 32, 33 miles. And then last month I did a 24-hour race that I actually just did for 12 hours, but I ran 56 miles at that. So that's my longest race I've ever done. So yeah.
How long do they how long can you run?
And that took me, it was a little over 11 hours that I ran for. That was fit. Yeah, I stopped to like go to the bathroom or eat some food, but not like, I didn't like take a break. No.
What?
Yeah. So some people did 100. So now there's 100 milers, there's 200 milers. There's actually a 300 miler in Arizona now that they're doing. And these are races that, people will stop and sleep for like little cat naps when it's like a 2-day race. But yeah, people just go the whole time. Isn't that crazy? I know.
I want to thank today's sponsor, Main Street Inn. If you're ever in Vermillion, South Dakota and looking for a place to stay, I highly, highly recommend the Main Street Inn. A 7,000 square foot fraternity renovated to be the only bed and breakfast in town. They have a living room, dining room, 5 beautiful rooms if you need to spend the night. You can also book the place for graduations, birthdays, weddings, you name it. The owners are great, and they serve breakfast, of course. Go check it out at 221 East Main Street. Link will be in the description below.
See, like just a few months, I just started running. So a group of people, Mason and Jake, if they're listening from Resilient, they have a little running club in the mornings, Tuesdays and Thursdays at like 6 in the morning. And they're like, yeah, we'll run. I thought it was far. They only run like 4 miles. So from their house
but
to
only is 4 miles is far.
See, and because before that, they saw me running. I was like, well, because usually I lift. Yeah. Back in the day, I like powerlifting. I was like, well, I like riding my bike, but let me do some running. Yeah. So I remember running from my apartment, and then where the high school is, I went that way, and I swear, I was like, man, I'm sweating. This was in the summer. I'm like, man, how long have I been running? I checked. I've been running for 7 minutes. I'm like, this is crazy.
It's a wild thing. I think the thing about running is it's like you have to really put it in the frame of like where you're at. I mean, 4 miles can feel like a lot one day for me, and 26 miles can feel a lot one day for me. It just really depends on what you're doing that day. Like the 24-hour race I did, it was a 4-mile loop, right? So it was as many 4-mile loops as you could do in whatever time frame you wanted to do it for. So in my head, it was like, it's so much easier to break it down. It's like, it's just 4 miles out and back, 4 miles out and back. And I'm going to see how many times I can do that. So it kind of, you can break it down, right? Instead of it being like, I'm going to go run 26 miles that way and 26 miles back. That feels like a lot to me, but it's all the frame that you're in. But I started doing ultras only because I had been trying to qualify for Boston. And I was like, it was just, the joy of running had been taken away. Like I was too much focused on this, like I got to get this time and I got to do this. So I actually applied to be on this show called Becoming Ultra, which is, it's like a podcast. Yeah. documentary. So basically they pick people that have never done an ultra before and they do weekly documentation on like their training and how it's going. And then at the end they run an ultra and then they come back on the pod and talk about like how it went and everything. So I got picked to be on that. So that's how I ran my first ultra. Then after I ran an ultra, I went back to running marathons and I actually did qualify for Boston after that experience and was able to run Boston last year, which was really cool. But it's evolved. You'll evolve as a runner. Right now, like 7 minutes might feel like a long time for you, but if you keep running, you could probably run for 2 hours and it won't feel like that big of a deal for you. It's wild.
Hopefully, because now we've been doing it every week except the past few weeks. It's just so cold.
Yeah, it's so cold.
Yeah, but now I can do the 4 miles with them. Yeah. But, even though I'm like the last one.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I can do it.
You can do it.
But then like I'll hear them say like, they'll say, oh man, I ran on Saturday. I'm doing this. I'm like, how many miles do you guys run? They're like, oh, we do like, I don't know. They say like 15K or whatever. I'm like, dang, so you guys
Saturdays are usually long run days for a lot of runners. A lot of runners do their long runs on those days.
And they're telling me, hey, one day we should do like a snow run. I'm like, I could barely do the a 50-degree weather
I'm
one.
a total weenie, just so you know, full disclosure. I have a treadmill and I use it all the time. I'm like if it's too hot, I'm like, nope, treadmill. If it's too cold, nope, treadmill. I'm a total wiener about the weather and I will get on my treadmill all day long. I give a lot of kudos to these people that I'll see out when it's like 80 or 20 below. I'm like, heck no. I just get on my treadmill. It's easy.
Yeah, like I see Randy running in the it's snowing or it's like cold.
1,000 degrees outside. I will see him and I'm like, man, you are crazy, but God bless you. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Especially his age. Like he's like top.
Oh yeah. He is, I mean, his physical, like how healthy he is, minus, his health issue that had, we were just talking about how he has to have Randy on the show to talk about his incident, but it's like a physical specimen of ridiculous physique. I mean, like he's so in shape, which is amazing to me. Like what a way to like extend your life by being very thoughtful about how you're taking care of your body for sure.
So when you're running, like what goes through your mind? Do you ever get like just tired or... Because you're running like a lot.
I mean, I think if you talk to a lot of runners will say it's like 40% physical, 60% mental. I mean, a huge part of running is the mental game of like your mind wants to tell you that you're tired when your body is not really tired yet, right? Like it's boring. It can be boring. You have to do things to keep yourself entertained or think about other things. Like I was saying, when I was running that ultra, it helped me mentally to be like, it's just 4 miles. It's just, these are the tricks you play on yourself. Or on Saturday, I was running on my treadmill because I had to run at 5 a.m. before I brought my daughter to tryouts. And I put a towel over the top of the front of the treadmill so I can't see the mileage. So I'm not just sitting there staring at the mileage. I can watch a movie and do whatever. A huge part of it's mental. Like a huge part of it is like boredom and telling yourself you can't do it and not having mental toughness. And I think if you meet any like ultra runners very specifically, those people have been through some stuff in life and have a really different mental fortitude than most normal human beings, right? That they somehow can bring themselves to another mental place where the pain cave is not a thing for them and they just get through it. It's wild. It's crazy.
I seen this guy on, man, I forgot his name because it was some type of Stanley superhuman real life. And it was this guy that runs and then they were checking, like he can't get, I guess, tired, something with lactic acid or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's
it's like the guy Free Solo, that guy why can't I Adam, what's his last name? I can't think of his name. You guys know him, the guy that free soloed El Capitan without a rope, right? They did like a scan of his brain and they figured out that his brain needs like way more stimulation to be stimulated. Like he doesn't get stimulated by like fear or anything like the rest of us. They're like, there's something different about how his brain processes this stuff. I think there's people that are just like that, even with running or endurance sports that they can do that. I am not like that. I'm a total baby and I just do it. But there are some people I think that it just doesn't affect them the same way, or they have figured out a way to manage it for sure.
And you say you never done like sports when you were younger?
No, I never did sports growing up.
Really?
Yeah.
But you're running like
I know
a lot.
My husband always says you would have been a really good soccer player in high school because you like are competitive and you're aggressive and you like to run. And I'm like, well, I guess we'll never know. We will have no idea. But no, I never did zero sports, zero. So
now what about, what if I remember right, because at church there's a bunch of runners.
Yeah.
What's it called? Your minute per mile per
pace, pace minute per mile.
So what would yours be if I remember?
Let's see. I mean, like my half marathon PR is like a 1:36. So that's like a 7. I think it's close to a 7 or 7:10 minute mile. And then my marathon, I'm much slower at a marathon. So my marathon PR is like an 8:10, I think, per mile or something like that. So.
Dang, that is fast.
I mean, you see some, I know, right? It feels like that. But then you see, like we were just talking about Molly, and Molly is like, she's got a bunch of track award, like records still for USD. And she probably runs like a 6-minute marathon. You think about the Olympic runners, they're in the 4s and 5s. Like an Olympic marathon runner runs, the men run 4s, 4:15, 4:30. They're in the 4s the whole time.
See, when in middle school and high school, they always timed us.
Yes. Yeah. For a mile. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would do it like either in 9 or 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. These people are incredible. I mean, but you think that's their whole job right now. Like, that's what they get paid to do. But I think that the cool thing about running is you actually get a lot of people get better as they get older. Like, you're seeing more and more people that are masters, and masters is anybody over 40 that are running faster than they have ever run in their lives before. So it's pretty cool that, there's this like stigma, like you're going to get bad knees from running. You're going to get this, you're going to get that. You're seeing more and more people as they get older get better, better with age with this. And I think it's just because they understand their bodies better and they know how to recover and they know how to fuel themselves. Right. Like it's a really interesting, theory and world with running for sure.
Yeah, that is strange because usually, like, for example, if you're lifting or even like sports, the athletes, once you get older, you kind of get like weaker or some stuff. But with endurance, it's like
and I think also the field started to understand a lot more the importance of strength training, like you were just talking about with lifting. Like way back in the day, like you saw every long distance runner, and they were like, like skin and bones, so skinny, so tiny. And I think now the body type really has changed a lot. For if you look at marathon runners, they're very muscular because they figured out, right, they have to like strength train to protect their bodies from injury. So I think the field of running has changed a little bit, which is kind of cool.
See, I admire. So I used to follow, like, for example, like the Olympics, like when they're powerlifting or strongman, all that. I think it's impressive. I see athletes also short distance, but I always admire like long distance because that is just,
it's wild. It's wild to watch them, isn't it? Like when I watch like the marathon on like the Olympics or like the New York City Marathon or something that's on TV, you're just like, these people are incredible. Like it's wild.
Now, can you guys does that also translate to like sprints? Like, are you guys also fast at
I mean, I'm not fast in general ever, but I think they generally say there actually was a runner this year at the Olympics from the Netherlands. She actually ran track and she ran the marathon. And there was this big thing about it. They're like, you can't do both. You can't do both, right? Like your body, when you train, you can't train for both. And she like got first or second in the marathon. And then she got like first, second, or third in a bunch of track events. So she could do both, right?
Okay.
But generally when you look at, and she wasn't like a sprinter, she was like the 5K, 10K runner, right? But I mean, it is, if you look at like sprinters versus long distance runner, buddy, totally different, right? Not at all. Like those sprinters, their bodies are set up for like fast spurts of speed. Okay. I think Gabby Thomas, who ran for the US, right? She's like a 400-meter runner. She said the longest she ever runs is a mile. She never runs more than a mile, right? And she's an Olympian, she won 3 gold medals this year, right? And so but she's a sprinter, right? So she doesn't do long distance running. So it's wild to see the difference. But no, can I sprint? No, my 11-year-old can beat my butt so easily if we were sprinting around in the backyard. Yeah, no way. I
remember in high school there was this, and I remember it. I'm gonna give examples. 2 guys. One of them, they both played the sport baseball. Yeah. But also one of them he did cross country. Yeah. He had this build. He was tall. I won't say he was slim. Yeah. But he was like still tall and like a good size. Yeah. This guy ran like he would not get tired, and he was the first one with just running. This other guy, he was a little more shorter. I think he was shorter than me. Yeah. I think he's like 5'5" or 5'6". Yeah. I'm like 5'8".
More compact. Yeah.
Yeah. But he got so tired. Like he could not do long distance. But this guy was fast, like just short sprints. Yeah. But also the other one that was tall, he was like one of the slowest runners at sprinting.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like,
yeah, no, I think those guys are like built for short bursts of energy and not like long. Like I'm like, I can go for a long time, but I'm not going to be fast about it. I mean, and that's fine. I mean, I think your bodies are just built differently for those 2 different types of running for sure.
Do you do any like cycling?
I have a Peloton. So I ride my bike at home for sure. So that's what I do for cross training is I ride my Peloton for like rest days and like, since I'm at a desk job, I run in the morning and I lift in the morning, but after work, I usually try to do like a short bike ride on my Peloton just because I've been sitting all day at my desk, right? It's just a good way to like break it up. So I do that as like a cross training activity. I'm not good at it by any means, but it's a way to get my legs moving. I'll never be a triathlete. That's for sure. That's never going to happen. Mostly the swimming part I am not interested in, but open water swimming and getting kicked and stuff does not seem like anything I want to do, but I have so much respect for triathletes. I think it's incredible. They can do all of that. And like I said to you earlier, they go and swim and bike 100 and some miles. Then they run a marathon, which blows my mind.
And I was talking to Kevin Brady about it. Yeah, because in the summer I like riding my bike.
Yeah, Kevin loves riding bike.
Yeah, I thought. Well, first I was like, I could do like 40 minutes. Yeah, and I was asking, I was like, well, how long do you guys do? He's like, we do short stuff like I don't know, like 100 miles. I was thinking, maybe one day I should do one of those marathons. Yeah. I guess not.
Yeah, no, and Kevin used to teach classes at the Wellness Center. He used to teach. I used to go to his cycling classes at the Wellness Center. Kevin is a big biker. Yeah, but. No, 100 miles on a bike, my butt would hurt way too much for any part of that business. I'm like, how do these people do this?
Yeah.
I think Kevin rides a recumbent bike too, if I remember right.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. But when you're speaking about the triathlon stuff, like I was thinking, okay, maybe if I practice running, maybe the cycling, but swimming, I mean, I could float.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Oh, I'm with you 1,000%. I'm like, you better put a life jacket or the blow up things on my arms or something, because there's no way that's happening for me. And then I think to myself, they get out of the water soaking wet and then they get on a bike. I'm like, that seems like bad things are happening. But I'm so glad that they do these things. Right?
So it's they swim
and then bike and then run.
How long is it? Like,
I think like the Ironman, like the Hawaii one, I think they have 24 or 30 hours to do it. That's like the cutoff, but I don't know how fast the fastest people do it. I think it's probably, I don't even know. I mean, the bike is like 118 or 108 miles, if I remember correctly, but I don't know how long it takes them because I've never looked into it because I know it's just not something that's going to happen in my life, but they're incredible. I mean, it's crazy.
And then, so Molly okay. You guys qualify for Boston, right?
Yeah.
What was y'all's times again?
If people remember this, Dave Lias, who's just a wonderful man. He did a great article before and after Boston 2023. And I was in the article and so was Molly Radigan. And it's so funny because I've had so many people come up to me and they're like, I can't believe Dave did that to you. And I was like, anybody that knows Molly knows that Molly's like a lifelong runner. She's got USD track and field records. I am not the same person as Molly. I'm like this 26-year-old a million years ago who started to run. I'm not 26 now, but it's like a tale of two tapes, right? Of just like how you can get to the same place, but have a totally different path of getting there. So my Boston time, I think I ran a 3:50. I think Molly's was under 3. If I had to guess, I'm guessing she was under 3. She's a great runner. She's super, super fast. So yeah.
How did you guys qualify for that? Like, what do you guys have to do that?
Yeah. So Boston, you have to run a qualifying marathon under a certain time frame. So depending on your gender and your age, there's a time that you have to beat in a qualifying race. Like I had to run a 3:40 and I ran the California International Marathon that's in Sacramento. It was actually just this last weekend, but I ran it in 2021. So you have to run a qualifying race between the window of like September to September for the next year, right? So I qualified at a race at the end of 2021 to run Boston in 2023. So basically you have to hit that time to qualify. But to thicken the plot for Boston is oftentimes there's way more people that qualify and register to run the race than actually they have spots for. So they have like 24,000 spots or something like that. So like this year, people had to beat their time by like 5 or 7 minutes. So like imagine the joy of realizing you've qualified for Boston. You're like, yes, I'm registering, I'm putting my stuff in. And then you find out you didn't make it because they made you have to be 7 minutes faster than what they originally told you because there's so many new people or so many people that registered. So basically, you then have to beat your time by more time because so many people have qualified. So there's people that thought they made it this year and then didn't get in, right? So it's terrible. So my year, I ran right after COVID, right? So it's right in the midst of COVID 2021. So a ton of races were still canceled. A ton of races were not happening still. So everybody that year that had a Boston qualifying time got in. God bless America. But like this last year, it was You had a huge cutoff. So they actually have added 5 minutes on now. So like before at that age, I needed a 3:40. Now I would need a 3:35 to qualify because so many people were qualifying. So that's how it works. Yeah. And Molly probably easily qualified at whatever race she was at because she's super fast, right? So it's based off of your gender and your age that they tell you what you have to beat it by. And as you get older, so I was like, when I turn 40, it's going to be my time. And that's what kind of happened. I was 40 when I qualified. So as you get older, you get more time, right? They give you bigger buffer just because they just assume you're going to be slower, which is nice.
You're over 40?
I'm over 40, yeah.
Snap. So
I'm old. I'm a master.
See, I thought we were the same age.
Oh, God bless
I'm 29.
You. God bless you.
There's one thing that me and Myra, and this is, we say this to a lot of people here, but they look for us.
Yeah.
Y'all guys look way younger than what we think.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because probably down there, you're in the sun. Here, maybe it freezes.
Yeah, that's our faces are all frozen. It's like you don't need Botox here. You just need to go outside in the cold and you look younger. No, so, God bless you. I'll come back on this podcast anytime you want now.
Maybe that's the trick. Maybe I need to run outside in the cold.
No, I told you I have a treadmill, man. And you don't even have to do that. It's fine.
Is it the same running on a treadmill versus outside?
I would say I have a running coach. So my coach would say you need to get your butt outside. But I think in terms of like mental toughness, mentally it's harder to run on a treadmill. And I would say physically outside it's a little bit harder just because then you have like the ups and downs and the terrain and everything like that. So I think there's pluses to both. I mean, at my age, like I've already qualified. I already ran Boston. Like for me, I'm not like, I'm going to go to the Olympics or I'm going to do this. Like I'm just doing it for like health and enjoyment and mental health aspect of it and that kind of thing. So I don't care about how fast I run a race anymore. So for me, I'm like, I'm going to run on the treadmill because then I'm not going to get hurt. I mean, I ran London last April and a month before I ran London, I tripped on the sidewalk outside on a 20-mile run. I was at mile 19.26 and I tripped on a teeny tiny part of the sidewalk and pulled my hamstring and then tore it in the first mile of running the London Marathon. So I now have like PTSD about running a little bit. I'm like, oh God, I'm just going to run on my treadmill. I know I can't trip on anything. So I find benefits in it because I know that I'm going to be safer, especially when it's winter. Like I don't want to trip. I don't want to slide on ice. I don't want to get hurt because now I've been through that and it was awful. So I think there's benefits to a treadmill and for weather where we live in South Dakota, it could get really hot, it gets really cold. But I would say overall, if you ask like a running coach, they'd be like, you should run outside. Okay.
Because Myra's right now, she is starting to run. I guess same thing like me. But so I run outside and she runs on the treadmill. Yeah. She doesn't want to go outside. Yeah. And I don't want to run on the treadmill. Yeah. So she runs on Mondays and Thursdays. So something weird's going on. And every time she runs, her either, I don't know if it's like her hip or
flexor.
Femur.
Yeah.
Or her shin starts hurting.
She probably needs different shoes.
So what is the shoes?
Yeah, it's probably a shoe.
She kept telling me about the shoe thing.
It's a shoe thing, probably.
I thought it was an excuse to buy more shoes.
No, she should go to like Runner's Block in Sioux Falls or a place that does a stride analysis and they can tell her if she like overpronates, underpronates, if she needs like more of a supported shoe. It's probably her shoe, honestly.
Really?
A lot of times when your shoe breaks down and you don't have enough support, that's when your body starts breaking down. So shin splints are one of the biggest things that happen first or IT band stuff when you have bad shoes. So yeah, she needs new shoes. I back her up.
But she already has a lot of shoes.
Yeah, maybe it's not the right shoes. Right? So it probably is shoes, honestly. It probably is, especially if she's running on the treadmill, only because it's not like there's a terrain change when she's running. So it probably is her shoes. And the thing that can be hard is if you start getting those little niggles, it will cause you to change your gait, which then can cause you to have other injuries because then you're putting stress on another part of your body. Like one of my really good friends, she had hamstring tendonitis in both of her hamstrings when she ran Boston, the year I ran it, and she broke her foot at mile 18. It just popped. And it's probably because she was trying to compensate for the stress in her hamstrings by changing her gait, which caused extra stress on her foot. That's what the doctors think. And then she broke her foot. So at mile 18, so she couldn't finish. She'd already run Boston. So she went back the next year and everything. But I mean, that stuff has a huge play on it. So don't let your wife break her foot. Don't do any of those things. Don't do it.
You know what I mean? I didn't know running was that dangerous.
It is. It's a dangerous sport. Okay. I mean, it's overuse injuries too. Like those happen. Yeah, it's tough.
What? So the shoes do matter.
Yeah, they really do. Really, really do.
I'm guessing my shoes. See, my shoes, I don't know. They're like $40 I don't know. I got them at some outlet store, and
most shoes only have like running shoes usually have 300 to 500 miles on them. So like that's how many miles you can run total before you really need to change them. So like a lot of people that run a lot will have 2 pairs of shoes that we just switch on and off right each day, so they get plumped up between runs a little bit faster.
There it is. Today at the gym. So there's another guy. His name is Joe. He likes to run. I just saw him at the gym today. He was on the second floor running, and I saw him. He had 2 pairs of shoes. Yeah. So I guess that makes sense.
See, that's probably what he was doing. Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe he had indoor, outdoor shoes. Was he at the wellness center on the track?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what about running barefoot? Yes, no, maybe so.
I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I've seen people in races doing it. Like, I think when I ran the Las Vegas half marathon, that's at night on the strip, a guy was running barefoot, and I'm like, oh my God, what are you going to step on at this joint? But there's some people that do it. I don't know why you would. I mean, but if you're like a purist and that's something that you're super interested in, I'm like, okay.
What about those? Have you seen those shoes with the 5 toes?
Yeah, I've seen people running those too. I don't think they're as popular now as they were like probably 5-10 years ago. There were more people really into that about 10 years ago, but not as much right now. Now it's all about like super shoes, right? That have the carbon plate in them that are supposed to make you like 4% faster. So like Nike has a lot, but all of the brands are basically coming up with shoes. And that's a huge topic in the running world right now is like, is it fair that runners use these shoes? Because that's how these world records are getting broken. So they're supposed to help you run 4% faster. So.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, so they're really expensive. Like the shoes are like $250 to $350 for a pair, and they only last for like 200 miles or so. But yeah, now you know. Don't get your wife those. She doesn't need those, probably. Don't let her talk you into those. But
do they look nice?
They're pretty cool, and they have a really thick sole. I mean, mine are like mesh on the top, so they feel not very supportive, and then really thick on the bottom. But they're supposed to help the whole concept is that carbon plate helps you with your spring bounce back, so you don't use as much energy, right? So yeah.
2 years ago, I think I made a mistake when I was trying to run. Yeah. I was wearing these shoes. I guess they're not running shoes. They're called what do you call it? Cross training?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, well, let me run them. And I was doing fine for a few days. But that last day on the week, for some reason, my foot was hurting. Yeah. And then one of the guys, another person, why does everyone at church run? They
were like, hey. You're like, those are not the right shoes.
He told me that. He said, those are running shoes. And I'm like, well, yeah, I didn't know that. I thought they were shoes.
They're shoes. I can run in them, but apparently they're not running shoes.
But yeah, I guess it does.
It does matter. I really do think it is. And you think about technology these days, they have really figured out how to like build and design shoes that really help athletes stabilize and protect their feet and protect their body. It's wild.
Now, is there anything else besides the shoes? Like, is there tech or anything that y'all guys use, runners, or I don't know, do you have like a Fitbit or anything?
I got a Garmin watch. So Garmin is like, you probably see the most runners run with Garmin, or there's Coros now. A lot of people run Coros watches. So I love my Garmin. I mean, it's like, I use it for every activity. It's cool because then Garmin tracks all your stuff from like history, right? I can go back and see everything about every run I've ever done, which is cool. So that's pretty much the only technology. I use like Shox, headphones. They're the ones that like go around your ear and sit on the outside, so they're not inner ear, so you can still hear what's going on around you and everything. So I really like those. I got those because on my way to Boston, which is like an hour and a half drive out from the start line, my AirPods died because I didn't have them in the case for that whole time, because what was I going to do with the case when I got there, right? So after I was like, oh, and now I will be getting these that turn on and I turn off and everything. So because actually was at CIM that my headphones died at mile 18. So I went from 18 to 26 with no music, no anything. Did it, but then Boston, I had these and it was great. So those are probably the only two like real techie things I use. I don't really wear a heart rate monitor other than what's on my watch, but a lot of people do that for heart rate training. That's a big thing in the industry now, but that's it.
So why a Garmin and not like an Apple Watch or a Galaxy Watch?
Because a Garmin is like specifically like an activity watch. So like I can do an activity with rowing, golfing, walking, running, trail running, ultra running, hiking. There's like a million different preset activities on here you could use. Swimming, you can use this in the water too. So I like it because I think it's really made for like athletes more than it being a smartwatch. And it is like, it's connected to my phone. So it will tell me if somebody's calling me. It's really made for like activity more than it being a smartwatch. I really like it. And I know Apple has like theirs like, well, does the circle and that kind of stuff. But this is more data driven stuff. It gets a lot more data for you to analyze later on, which I think is really nice. And the battery lasts a long time. So like I could go do a 24-hour ultra while this thing's on running the whole time and it won't die, which is nice, right?
See, my wife had this was an older one, like one of those Galaxy watches, but this was like a 4-year-old one.
Yeah.
And then I think, was it for her birthday? I bought her, I think it was a Garmin or a Fitbit.
Yeah.
Just one of the smaller ones.
Yeah.
And she was like, because she wanted to do more of the running stuff. And I think it was like almost dying. But then she was like, no, I think it's a little too expensive. So we returned it. And then like a week later, her Galaxy watch like is dead.
Of course.
So that's why I was trying to wonder.
That is the world, right? But Garmin has a million different watches. Like there's stuff that's anywhere from like $100 to like a $1,500 watch. There's all kinds of things. So pretty cool. Yeah.
And you said what kind of headphones do you have?
Shocks. So it's like SHOKZ. So they're pretty great. I like them a lot because then I feel safer when I'm running outside because I can be listening to something, but I can still absolutely hear my surroundings. So I think it makes it a lot safer as a runner. And you know, as a female runner, you got to be really thoughtful about your surroundings and what's going on. And I'm like early morning runner. So a lot of times in the summer when I go run, I go out at like 5 right. I'm going early because I want to beat the heat and the sun and the humidity. So I think it helps you be safer too, because you can hear stuff that's going on around you, which is nice.
So when you run outside here, like when it's nice, what's y'all's trail like?
Well, I live out of town. So generally I'll drive into town though, because especially when it's dark out, I don't want to run out on the highway. Like I have a Burbank address. So I usually come and park at work and then I leave from the campus and then I basically run a whole loop. So a whole loop around Vermillion is like 7 miles ish. So then a lot of times I go up and down streets just to try to get more mileage. So yeah, I've done the tour of Vermillion a lot of times in my running career, which is, it's fun. You see stuff, you're like, you know, the first weeks of school, you see a lot of students wandering around after a night out. You're like, oh God, do you know where you're going? I've had people stop me, ask me where the dorms are. So you see all kinds of things at that hour of the day for sure. It's fun. But so yeah.
With all that running, do you guys get paid for that or not?
No.
No, really? It's just for fun?
Just for fun.
Even at that
God,
Boston?
I wish, you know what? Somebody somewhere should come up with like X amount of I'll even take cents on the dollar per mile I run in a week. That would be great. No, I like it. Like I said, it's like stress release for me. Like there are days that my husband will be like, you need to go do something because I am just like, it just is a good stress reliever for me. And like mental health wise, it's just good for me. Movement, I think for anybody like is good for you. Also, then I can rationalize all the things I eat. Right? All the snacks I have, maybe the wine I drink. I can rationalize all of that when I work out. So it works out really well. So yeah.
Well, do you track, like how many calories do you eat or burn?
I don't know. I don't keep track of that. That's too obsessive for me. I will get too obsessive where I'm like, but my watch will tell me how many calories I burned and that kind of stuff. And I use MyFitnessPal sometimes to track my macros. Okay. Just to make sure I'm doing a good balance of fat and protein and carbs, right? So that's a huge part of making sure, especially as a female, like we never get enough protein. And that's something that I'm always trying to do better at, of like protein intake and everything. So, no, I like to eat food a lot. I'm a big food person. Like my husband always says, I love it when you're training for a marathon because you eat so much food. I'm like, I know.
So it's not like, let me just salads.
God, no. I mean, I love a salad, but it's going to be like a giant salad with everything you can think of on it. So I'm not like one of those girls that is like dainty about my food. I love eating so much. It's great.
What restaurants do you like in town?
I mean, first of all, let me just say, I wish we had more restaurants in town.
Everyone says that.
Like, I miss Red being open. CC's does a great job, right? Yeah. But that was, Red used to do like sushi nights and burger nights. And like I wish we had a sushi restaurant. That's like my number one thing. I know that there's sushi at Hy-Vee. Okay. I get that, people. All right. I wish we had like a real deal sushi restaurant. You know, your girl loves some Mexican food though. I love Asian. I love all the food. So I love it when places do like pop up, like when like the brewery has a food truck or pops up. I mean, that kind of stuff is so fun because we don't always get that in Vermillion, right? So we don't eat out very much. I got 2 kids and they're just like, man. And I'm like, I don't really want to spend money on you eating if this is just how you're going to be, right? But we don't eat out very much. But I do wish Vermillion had more, obviously. Who wouldn't say that? Who doesn't want there to be more options? But
I like the pop-up stuff. Friday, no, was it Friday? Yeah, Friday they did, at the brewery, they had like this pizza wooden fire thing.
Oh yeah, the mulberry one.
Yeah,
right?
we went to go try it.
Did you get there before it was sold out?
Oh, it was sold out.
After an hour, they sold out.
Oh, okay. We were the second people there.
Oh, perfect.
Because they were we got them like they're still prepping.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got it.
But have you guys done stuff there before?
Yeah. So
did you just have the dinner there?
Yeah, the 3-course.
Yes.
The Thanksgiving
thing. We were
thing?
gonna go, and we didn't end up going only because my daughter had basketball practice or a basketball game that afternoon. So
yeah, it was my wife.
Soup.
It's all my wife, not me. I just do what she says. She's the boss.
Well, you figured out marriage then. That's
there
perfect.
Happy wife, happy life. That's what I say. But yeah, it was the guacamayas, the pozole or 2 pozoles, and then I bake. So I made the tres leches.
Okay, got it.
But
so did you like the red? Do you like red or green better?
I usually like the green, but Myra, I don't know what she did, but this red one was actually bombing. Both were pretty good.
We were almost going to go, and I was going to have one of us was going to get the red, and the other one was going to get the green, so we could try both of it. Was it busy though? Did you guys get quite a few people?
No, actually, surprisingly, and I think it's because it was right after Thanksgiving.
I think so. It was the Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Because we only had technically we sold 4 tickets, and there was 3, and some people came in for takeout. But downtown was empty. I've never seen that.
I think a lot of people are gone on that Thanksgiving weekend. I think that's really hard. And I think people had stuff going on. But that bums me out. You guys all have to do it again because we were going to absolutely do it.
But for us, we were actually happy. It was kind of like a trial run because we'd never done it.
Yeah.
And they loved it. They loved the food. It was the people from Silk Road, Jason and them. They loved it. And I told Myra, I was like, hey, we need to do this again. Yeah. But probably like a February, January, when it's not the holidays.
Smart.
Another thing we're doing is on the 28th, we're going to sell tamales there at the brewery. This time we're going to prep up more because last year we did it.
Did you sell out like right away last year?
Last year in 22 minutes, they sold out.
You guys better start making some tamales right now.
So we are. So 2 weeks ago, we sold them at the farmer's market. So they were gone in 10 minutes.
I'm telling you.
And then now we did, you know what? Hey, let's just do to order. So my wife posted
perfect.
for orders. But there's a capacity. So we're like, okay, we're sold out on that.
Yeah. Because she's got to be able to sleep at night and not just be in the kitchen making tamales all day long.
Yeah.
I love tamales and I love them at Christmas time. We usually go, we'll find like a Facebook post that somebody's saying they're selling them. So I'll just be looking for yours and we'll get some from you guys.
So also, one thing about the tamales last year in Sioux City. So when we get our food, if people want to go there, it's called El Arco Iris. It means rainbow.
Okay.
But we go there like on the weekend sometimes. It was dark. We head there and then there's this lady with a hoodie like next to the door. Uh-huh. And what I'm thinking is she's probably asking for, selling drugs.
Yeah.
We're going
Hawking the tamales.
So that's what she is.
Yes.
She said, you want to buy some tamales? I'm like, what? What is going on? And then we come out and I'm like, let's just buy some. So I'm like, hey, give me 6 red ones. Oh no, 6 of the green first. And then she takes me to her van.
Yeah.
In the parking lot.
I'm telling you, it is like a drug deal in the back alley. Every time we've gotten them, I'm like, this feels so wrong, but it's so right. Like it's so fantastic.
Yeah. But she got them like from the cooler and then we ate them like, bro, these are pretty good. So we went back and got some more.
Amazing.
See, the best ones are on the street. I know. You.
I love tamales so much. Like, who doesn't love that carby deliciousness on the outside? They're so good.
Oh, if you do want to get some tamales also, because there's this fundraiser we're doing at the church. So yesterday we did a taco one.
Yeah.
And I think it went fine. On the 22nd, we're also doing another fundraiser. And same thing, we're making tamales, but the whole group is going to help out. So if people want some tamales there. I think it's
Is it at church? The church on the 22nd as well?
Yeah, at Hillside, but it's probably should be. I don't know if it's like 1 or 2 per person because it's a fundraiser.
Well, I'll bring my kids, and then they can each get 2, and then by the time I'm through the line, we got 8 of them. That's perfect.
Yeah, but if you guys do want, hey, I say just message
Do you know
Myra.
A guy? You know a gal?
Yeah, there we go. I know she got.
I love tamales. So good.
I didn't think they were gonna be that popular in town.
Oh no, you know.
Yeah.
You guys should just get a little pop-up food truck, just tamales all the time.
That's what Myra's been doing.
Oh, cool.
Or she's been looking it up these past few days.
Yeah.
Because after that brewery thing.
Oh, yeah.
She wants to take it more serious.
Yeah.
So like that event at the brewery would be, or
amazing.
Doing stuff is great. The one we do at Elk Point's been amazing at the Flower Farm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At Flourish. Yeah.
That one's been really, really great. I wanted to do more in Vermillion, just like on the street.
Yeah.
But the problem is when we did it before, you get the registration, the health or the, what do you call it?
Oh, yes.
The permits?
Yes. Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
But then last year or 2 years ago, whatever. They said no. the state says we can't get, I would get temporary food permit because we don't got a food truck. It's just in the stand. Just like in Mexico, they do it.
So is it easier if you're in a food truck?
I guess it is, but.
Because it's like probably like a moving restaurant. I suppose you get like a long-term one instead of it being a one-time event sort of situation.
But there was no problem before, but they said it's because so many people in the state is grabbing those permits. I'm like, I don't know. That's not my problem. What's the problem? They said only a city organized event. I'm like, this kind of sucks.
That's kind of stupid.
So we did some I think they did last year, 100-year Prentice Park.
And you guys did Thursday. Did you guys do Thursdays on the plots too?
Yeah, the first year, 2 years ago, we did 2 of them. That was great. The only thing now is to do that. They changed it. I just talked to Katie about it. Because before I think you had to be a member.
Yeah.
And we were, and then we stopped.
Oh, I remember the change.
Yeah, but I think she said you don't have to. We'll see what happens. Because that was fun. I like it.
Yeah, you can talk to people, meet people too. It's really neat.
It's fun. That's how I met. That's where I meet a lot of people. They're like, "Hey, weren't you the guy that did the tacos?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fun." Yeah. They're like, "Hey, your food's great." My wife.
P.S. It's lunchtime.
Yeah, but I need a.
Somebody here did not bring any tamales for me to eat right now.
We got
next time.
There we go. I should probably do that. You guys want to sponsor? No, but we should. Is there any last things you want to give out or shout out or anything?
Oh man, I'd always say this, like, it's never too late to start something new, right? So that's why I always mention, like, I wasn't a lifelong runner, right? I did it like in my adult life, and it's never too late to start something new and start a new habit. I think it's like you can always do that. And also, love Vermillion, right? I've been here forever and I love everything about Vermillion. I'm so excited. People like you guys moved here, like, and giving us these new opportunities. I mean, like, we're talking about your food. Like, if you guys weren't here, that wouldn't be happening for a ton of people in Vermillion. So love Vermillion. It's so great. There's so many cool people. I think we really underestimate like the cool different stories that everybody has around town. There's some really interesting people here that it's more than meets the eye and the stuff that they've done and what they've experienced and the stories they have to tell. So it's pretty cool. I'm glad you're doing this. This is awesome.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Sweet. All right. I think I should end this, but I do want to thank you so much, Carly.
Yeah, it's been great.